I know you guys are probably sick and tired of seeing the same footage over and over again, but don't worry guys, the Street Fighter V update is almost here. This is Vesper, and in this video we're going to talk about some of the most common questions and concerns about the new mechanic coming, V-Shift. If you don't know anything about V-Shift and how it works, I highly suggest you check out my previous video first that's already on the channel. So let's start with something very recent. So Daigo the Beast has already voiced his concerns with the possibility of V-Shift being way too strong against zoners if you're able to react to the fireballs with it, and characters like Abigail becoming virtually unstoppable. So I think this is very interesting already because I see a lot of casual players saying grapplers are going to be useless, but now I see pro players concerned over zoners against grapplers. Technically Abigail's a brawler, but the first thing we all have to, sit back and consider here is that V-Shift is not free, guys. It costs 1 bar of V-Gauge, okay? We're not going to be throwing this out every 2 seconds, especially right at the start of the match here. And even though you do get a 50% refund if you use your V-Gauge successfully, it still costs 1 bar to initially use it. So if you're using it to punish fireballs constantly, then you're not going to be able to use V-Trigger. Also keep that in mind. So yeah, you can keep punishing Guile or other zoners with your fireball, but then you're going to lose your ability for a giant comeback with your V-Trigger. And keep in mind, guys, a character like Abigail, for example, has 2 very strong V-Triggers, and that is definitely one of his main win conditions for Abigail. So him being able to deal with zoners easier, or if he's closer and gets a knockdown and reacts with it, he's not going to be able to do his V-Trigger as much. So if Abigail does knock down Guile, for example, if he throws a fireball, assuming you can react with fireballs with it, then keep in mind that Guile also has more options against Abigail if he's lying on the ground to escape his pressure and mix-ups. So it goes both ways, guys. Both sides of the coin get more options overall, so it's hard to look at this in a vacuum. So zoners also can do EX fireballs, for example, to recover faster, to bait the V-Shift and make them waste their V-Gauge, or maybe he'll recover fast enough. Maybe Gao, especially with his EX Fireball, will be able to even punish the V-Shift with his V-Shift if he recovers fast enough to do a V-Shift break. So question number 2, will V-Reversals become useless? Well, easy answer, absolutely not, guys. You cannot do V-Shift while you're stuck in block stun, so V-Reversal already has its place because it's done by blocking. So now we have both options, right? Whether we're blocking or not. That's the point V-Shift was added. So another thing, if someone tries to chip you down with super, then V-Reversal is the main way you can save yourself. So I do agree that V-Shift is more powerful, but V-Reversal still has its uses in the game. Question number 3. Will dodges, counters, or parry characters become useless? Well, once again, no, of course not, guys. Remember, once again, that V-Shift has a cost. And the cost is not just 1 bar of V-Gauge. Here's another way to think of it. The cost is also the possibility that you'll not be able to activate V-Trigger. So remember this, guys. Right now, the entire meta of Street Fighter V revolves around V-Trigger. It's definitely what makes certain characters top tier. So by you V-shifting more per round, you're basically giving up your most powerful single ability your character has. So there is definitely a cost to this, where dodges, counters, and parries are free and can use them unlimited amount of times. Another thing too, guys, to consider is that if your character has an invincible reversal, you might want to still use it because you're going to be using your super meter instead. So that way you can still use your V-Trigger. On the flip side, you also might want to use V-Shift as a reversal because then you'll have super meter to use a super to finish off your opponent. So there's a lot more to think about in the game now, and a lot more choices need to be made. Question number 4. Will block strings and frame traps become too dangerous in the game now? Well, I've thought about this a lot, guys, and if you look at the footage carefully, pretty much every single example that Capcom has shown with us, with the V-Shift punishing the opponent, are from special move cancels. So V-Shift is not as fast as you guys think, okay? Even though, yeah, it goes into bullet time and both characters are slow, the slowdown is more for confirming and letting you know, hey, it's time for you to decide what to do. The speed still is essentially the speed of a backdash, right? And the distance is still created between both characters. You're not, so for example, if Cadine is walking up to you and she keeps going crouching mean punch on you constantly, if you use V-Shift there, you most likely won't be able to punish her anyways, because she's just going to recover from her crouching medium punch, unless she cancels it into a special or something, because of the speed. So just like we see in the example in the video, we see Ryu do a standing medium punch, Rashid V-shifts that standing medium punch, but Ryu didn't cancel it into anything. And therefore, Rashid's V-shift break got punished with Ryu's V-shift because he had more than enough time to recover. So keep this in mind, guys. Doing normal block strings is not going to become like completely useless. And of course, you can use the V-shift to, give you some space and escape the block string, but not necessarily punish. So it looks like the big, V-shift punishes that we're going to see, in reality, at least in the beginning of the meta. We'll see it mostly being used against telegraph scenarios, like, Akuma or Ryu walking up to you doing crouching medium kick fireball, or maybe M-Bison, he back throws you, so you know for sure he's going to do a down forward meaty, down forward hard punch. You can use V-shift there, or a Honda doing an annoying butt slam over and over again, for example. That's going to be the beginning of the game's meta. Question number 5, can you anti-air with V-shift? Probably not. By the time you do your backdash, the opponent will most likely recover because they're landing from an attack in the first place. So, it might be good if, say, the opponent has you in the corner and they're crossing you up with a jump, and you do V-shift, maybe the V-shift will help you do a side switch and escape. So it might be useful there, but I don't think it can be used as an anti-air. But I am curious if it could be used against dive kicks or even like Akuma's air fireball. Question number 6. Will every character have a reversal now with V-shift? Yeah, I think so. In the footage, we see Dan do a meaty crouching heavy punch into fireball, and we do see the reversal message. So it could be frame 1, man. So this is a pretty big deal. And I'm still wondering if Capcom will add, a counter hit on recovery on the V-shift. So if you do bait it, will you be able to punish your opponent extra hard? But it's not used, like, invincible reversals won't be useless though. Because if you do a reversal V-shift, it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to punish 100% because of the speed of the backdash. So, you still might want to do an invincible reversal to get that, guaranteed damage if you read correctly. Question number 7, another common one. Is it better to have a 3-bar V-trigger so you can do more V-shifts overall? So this is kind of the same trade-off as using V-reversal. It's not that clear-cut as that, guys. Yes, technically, you do get a more total amount of V-shifts because you have 3 bars to play with, but you'll also most likely not be able to activate V-trigger if you use too much. Because if you use 2 V-shifts, for example, right, then by the end of the round, you might be too weak to get to that 3 bars and activate, and you might be dead. With a 2-bar V-trigger, it's much more flexible because even though you get a total less amount of V-shifts, right, you can use at once, you'll also have a higher chance of doing a V-shift and still making it to that 2-bar cost to activate your V-trigger in the first place. And we're looking at this like very vaguely. Like, there's also to put into consideration how powerful what 2-bar and what 3-bar V-trigger is. It's not that clear-cut. Question number 8. Does V-shift break do grade damage? Well, we don't know, guys, but I'm definitely assuming that it does. I'm sure a lot of you guys assume that it will, because I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same damage as V-reversal, actually. Because if it did real damage to you, then that means it can KO you, and I don't think Capcom would do that. That'd be way too strong. Question number 9. Am I worried about option selects? Hell yeah, I'm worried about option selects. That's pretty much my main concern with V-shifts right now, actually. But now that we know about the invisible hitbox that Capcom has made so that players will commit to their cancels, I'm pretty sure Capcom is anticipating this and they're trying to find ways to work around it. So I'm not like super concerned, but it definitely is my top concern. And finally, question number 10, will this benefit top tiers more? Well, if we think about it, yes, it helps every single character for sure. The question is, who gains more of a benefit for it? Characters without reversals will definitely gain more. Characters that rely less on V-trigger and characters that have easy ways of gaining V-gauge will definitely benefit more. So top tier characters are strong because they have a lot of tools in the game, obviously. And most characters can't deal with those tools. But with V-shift, that changes things. So if you wanted a meta-changing mechanic, guys, here it is, right? And at the end of the day, this is going to help the smarter players, man. The players who adapt quickly, while staying unpredictable themselves, right? Because if you keep doing the same thing, doesn't matter how powerful your character is, you're gonna get V-shifted, right? So you have to keep changing it up now. That's why it's game changing. Nothing is safe. So players will have to make the choice now as well on whether to do V-trigger each round, right? And with the brand new balance patch, guys, it's really hard to say who's top tier next season because we're looking at this season with V-Shift on top of that. We're not looking at the brand new season with the brand new balance patch. And with the new direction of the game, who knows how much they're going to change with the balance patch. So Capcom has also stated that they're going to relook at every single character with this V-Shift mechanic in mind, which means they're going to be looking at V-skills, V-skill combos, how much V-gauge you gain. Everything's going to be looked at again. And I'm sure very telegraphed moves like Mika's charge hard kick or Urian's EX knee drop, moves that should be a free punish every time with V-Shift, they're probably going to put that into account as well. And that's pretty much it, guys. Those are the most common questions that I see. If you guys have any extra questions for me, you guys want to help me speculate a little bit, leave a comment below, guys. I can't wait to get my hands on the game. And of course, I'll do a V-Shift tutorial, and we'll have V-Shift guides on how to deal with it with every single character on proper punishes and such. Can't wait to break this down. If you guys found this video helpful, please leave a like, leave a comment, guys, and of course, subscribe to the channel. We'll be going hard this new season for Street Fighter now that we have content. So I'll see you guys the next time, and yeah, take care. Peace.